I'm Stephanie Schwartz with the Persuasive Speech audience.
I'm Tommy.
Neil.
Paul.
Ty. Jack.
As many parents can attest, few disciplinary measures stop a child from misbehaving as quickly as a swift open smack or two on the bottom. Even if children stop tantrums when spanked, that doesn't mean they get why they shouldn't have been acting up in the first place. So the parents should take their time to explain why they got spanked. I believe that parents should spank their kids when it comes to safety issues, misbehaving because they feel like they need attention, and throwing a tantrum because they want something their way. When teaching children proper and exceptional behavior, spanking should be used as a learning or disciplinary tool, but adults have to remember to keep control of the situation and not harm the child when doing so. Children should learn that when getting spanked, they did something wrong and should learn from it and not do it again. One way to do this is by setting clear boundaries. The children will understand the right and wrong way of doing things. For example, letting the child know that throwing a toy is wrong, even if it is when they are playing around or when they are throwing a tantrum. Earn the respect of your child by being fair and go by what you say. If you tell the child the plans for the day, but the parents want to do something else, be fair. Of course, the child is going to be upset because the parents didn't follow their plans. Parents must also have a set of rules when spanking or disciplining their child. First, you must stay calm. No matter which method of discipline you choose, your children need to stay calm while you discipline them. This will help your child understand the consequences are arising not out of your anger, but because of the inappropriate actions of what they did. Staying calm will help you also avoid actions that you might regret later. Do not hit your child with implements or objects. Keep an open hand policy, so it will not instill fear in the child, but an understanding of the punishment for their actions that they did. How effective is spanking a child? We should keep in mind that when children, we do not want to cause them harm or fear. Yes, they will feel humiliated and helpless after disciplining them when they did something wrong, but the parents also need to reassure them that it's the end of the punishment is over once the issue has been discussed. But also they need to know that after the punishment is over that you still love them. I learned firsthand after getting spanked in public with people around, they would look down and say, you got what you deserve because you know better than to act up in public. Giving your child a swat on the rear end should be just enough to get their attention, not to act up and change their behavior. Age should be a big consideration when disciplining your child. Infants and toddlers are too young to understand. Why would anyone spank a 1-year-old? Parents should be able to tell if their child is old enough to understand what is right and wrong. Spanking children under 2 could destroy a child's sense of security and self-esteem. When does spanking become ineffective? In a study with 5-year-olds, the children who have been spanked more often were more likely than not spanked children to be defiant, demand immediate satisfaction for their wants and needs, become frustrated easily, have temper tantrums, and lash out against other people. These things should not happen. There are many ways to discipline a child, but parents should always think, when is it okay to spank? Whenever it involves an inherent danger to a child, for example, smacking a child's hand who is about to touch a hot stove, or when it's repeated behavior as to antagonize the parent, for example, running around the store and pulling stuff off the shelves when you've told them to stop. When you decide that you must spank, does the punishment fit the situation? If you believe in taking action for what they did, don't back down unless you were truly wrong. Stand firm because you are the parent and you know what's best for them. Sit them down, eye-to-eye level. Repeat the explanation of what they did wrong. Have them agree not to do it again, and have them also to apologize. People say use timeouts instead of spanking. The quiet moment forces the child to calm down and think about their emotions than acting on the reflexively. How is a 2-year-old going to reflect on emotions that they don't even know that they have? By giving them a good swat on the back end will help them be more aware of their wrong action And it should be kept in their mind that if the situation comes up again, they know they're going to get spanked for it. Public viewpoint has caused a lot of commotion whether a parent should spank or not. In California, an assemblywoman is trying to introduce a bill banning the practice of spanking children younger than 4. If passed, the state will become the first to make it a corporal punishment of infants and toddlers. It will be a misdemeanor punishable by a year in jail and a $1,000 fine, along with more than a dozen countries, mostly in Europe, that have laws against this practice. But in Canada, they've gone further, with the Supreme Court setting out boundaries on what they can spank for. For example, the force used must be restrained, controlled, and express disapproval for the actual behavior and how it can be used. The force used must be reasonable under the circumstances and not offend society's view of decency. The court set limits on what is reasonable and who can administer the punishment. People shouldn't have to deal with a screaming child or having a tantrum because the parent doesn't discipline them or ignore the child. The parent should take responsibility and be respectful of the people around them by taking the child to their vehicles or to the restrooms. I find it upsetting and bothersome because people don't have enough respect for people around them. A lot of people ignore what's going on and not involved in the situation because they don't want to, but they are involved because they have to deal with it involuntarily. I've seen people cringe at a dinner table with a family sitting around in the next booth, and the child is having a screaming fit because they'd rather have ice cream instead of dinner. How is this fair to the people around them? Take them outside so that way they can calm down. Once they calm down, talk to them, explain why they shouldn't be upset, and this is the clear boundaries that we've set when we went out. Everybody has their own opinion on what's right and wrong. The parent is responsible for the child's behavior and how to discipline them. If parents want to spank their children, let them. The court should not be involved in disciplining their child, and the public should not have to deal with screaming kids who are having a tantrum over ice cream. Everyone agrees they really don't want to risk it publicly, and by the time that they get them home, they will have forgotten the incident, and the children doesn't understand why they're getting spanked at home. So society is making parents let their children turn into degenerates and still blaming the parents for the child misbehaving. So let society think what it wants, take the child somewhere out of the way, calm them down, and take action. But remember, parents have to stay calm and never spank their children, but with anything but an open hand. Thank you. Any questions?
Why don't you feel timeouts are effective?
Timeouts really aren't effective because as a 2-year-old, I've seen with my nephews, they would sit there and play around. They don't know what their emotions are. So by explaining and talking to them at the moment and then spanking them, it'd be a lot easier than having to deal with timeouts and getting frustrated with a child. Anyone else?
Don't you feel that spanking them, regardless of age, will affect them emotionally?
And sometimes I'm sure that they will be effective, yes, but in the long run, as long as parents explain to them why they're getting disciplined and explaining to them that even if you are disciplined or spanked, you still love them no matter what the situation is. Thank you.